Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. Real Estate Coaching Radio is the nation's #1 daily radio show for realtors who demand authentic, real-time coaching. Get ready for fluff-free, unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what's truly working to get you into action, helping others, and making money now in today's real estate market. Now to our hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we are back. So sorry this podcast is getting out a little bit late today. Julie and I have actually been presenting on other podcasts and other events, and I think today alone we probably have been in front of, well, with our podcast, probably with this podcast we'll be in front of maybe 15,000 of you. So every single podcast, what we're starting with, and we're going to continue to do this probably for the next couple weeks, because we have a ton of new listeners that are discovering us. So every new podcast, we're always reminding everybody the urgency of making sure that you're taking advantage of all the different government programs that are out there. And so I'm just going to do an edited version, okay? So those of you guys who are smart enough to be listening to us for a long period of time don't have to hear me go through all the dribble of all these government programs. But here's the bottom line. To get all the latest information on a constantly being updated format, make sure you text the word survival to 31996. Survival to 31996 will give you instant access to information that we're literally updating now 3 and 4 times a day. And this is the best information, and we've designed it in such a way that it's relevant to real estate agents. And so just to give you a quick overview, we tell you guys exactly how to get forbearances in all of your loans, starting with your mortgages. We tell you guys how much to expect in your stimulus check. There's actually a stimulus calculator that's on the website. Just text the word survival to 31996. And believe it or not, we also tell you guys how to get unemployment. Unemployment benefits now are going to range with the CARES Act, and your state unemployment insurance will range from, say, $640 to close to $1,000 per week. And yes, that applies whether you're a 1099 or you're a W-2, so make sure you do all that. And we're also giving you all the drill down details on how to apply for the SBA Disaster Relief money and also the SBA Paycheck Protection money. Now, just to give you a quick overview of those two programs, the SBA Disaster Relief Fund will put up to $25,000 in your pocket within a relatively short period of time. $10,000 at first, and then later on they ask you if you want another $15,000. And from what we understand, those are grants; those are not loans. And it's relatively easy to get that money, frankly, if you qualify, which all of you will, because you guys are essentially small business owners. So money has been literally set aside for you as part of the CARES Act. And to get information on that, you could spend the time Googling, obviously, and get all that information, or you just text the word survival to 31996. And the other program is the SBA PPP, which stands for Paycheck Protection Plan. And that one is actually, it's very elegant in the way it was designed, basically. And again, this is available to anybody, whether they're a W-2 or whether they are a 1099. It does not matter if you're working for your corporation as your only employee, or you're just basically a sole proprietor and you don't have a corporation, you're just getting paid through your Social Security number as a 1099. You still qualify for all these programs. The cool thing about the PPP is that with following some relatively simple rules to follow, it goes from being a loan to turning into a grant. So let's say, for example, you earned $120,000 last year. And say of the $120,000, let's say it all went to your payroll. I'm making this super simple. You would qualify up for a PPP loan up to $25,000, and as long as it's 2.5 times your average monthly, and provided you use 75% of that to cover your payroll, this is literally how it works, guys, then you don't have to pay any of it back. So this information is evolving. Essentially it's changing a little bit every day. So for example, Julie, which of those two programs was it that covers your the rentals? Oh, the disaster relief one.
Yes.
Yeah. So the disaster relief one was edited on the actual application, because we're going through these applications to see the changes. And now if you have loss of rental income, so if you're a mom and pop like Julie and I are, quite literally, and you have a bunch of rental properties like we do, you're a mom and pop investor, as they love calling us, and you have loss of revenue from essentially disruptions and tenants not paying their rent, the way we've read the application, and again, we're not experts at any of this, we're learning on the job just like you guys are, is that you will qualify and you can include that in lost revenue through the PPP, which is, it's outstanding. It's really amazing. Another thing that we're always reminding all of you of is you need to apply for all of these. So don't ask if you qualify, just apply and let them tell you that you don't. But you do probably for all of these, and yes, you will qualify for all of them. So you can get everything on forbearance. You will get your stimulus check. You can be on unemployment. You can get the SBA Disaster Relief Loan money. You can get the SBA Paycheck Protection money all at the same time. Okay, so this is something that's kind of extraordinary, even to try to express to all of you. But there it is. It's available to all of you, so it makes you take full advantage of it. To be honest with you. And the other thing is the Main Street Lending Program. That information is just trying to trickle out. We are updating the website, which is a free coaching program. We're updating that for you guys every single day. But the Main Street Lending Program does seem like it's going to be a little bit onerous. It does look like it's going to be a recourse loan, whereas the Paycheck Protection Program is not a recourse loan, and it's not credit dependent. It's essentially
it's something that you want to know about because it might apply to you, it might apply to your spouse, and it might apply to some people that you know. So that's the one that we're watching right now. It's probably 2 weeks out from being official, and it'll probably have a similar process, but it looks like it's going to be a little bit more paperwork intensive. And unlike what we've been talking about so far, it's an actual loan. It's not something, as far as we can tell so far, that converts to a grant. So you want to do everything else that we've talked about first, and then we'll update you. The SBA website and some of these other programs are literally changing day by day. And I have to say that since we've been reporting on this for basically a month now, maybe a little bit longer than that, it's getting better.
A month today.
And it's getting progressively better. It's easier to follow. It's easier to find these things that we're talking about. So we'll continue to sort it out for all of you guys.
I still have not. You remember Julie and I did a podcast on the stages of grief, as related to the coronavirus, and I'm still not quite certain that I've moved past the original one of denial. But I forced myself to move to acceptance. But when I read all these things and realize how ridiculously different the world is in just 30 days.
Well, one of the stages is bargaining, which might be what the government's doing with us right now. Like, if you stay at home, we're going to do this.
Yeah, you stay at home, we'll give you money. Right. So now here's another fun little fact. And Julie and I have had coaching clients that are doing this. If you own multiple businesses, let's say, for example, you have your real estate sales business and that is or is not incorporated, it doesn't matter. Let's say you own a rental business, same thing, is or isn't incorporated. You own maybe an interest in a car wash or whoever knows, you guys get the idea. You can apply for all these programs for all your different businesses. You don't just basically, don't think small on these things. If you're getting revenue from like for example, EXP people that are getting revenue share. So there's people I know that are making revenue share, and that revenue share might be disrupted because of this. Who knows? And hypothetically, if they were running that money through either as a 1099 or a W-2, hypothetically, I don't know for sure, but they're going to qualify for some of these programs because of disruption in revenue share. So you guys really got to think out of the box on this. And this event we did earlier today, there's, I don't know, maybe 600-700 on that event, people live. And the question we kept on getting was, do I qualify? Should I apply? And so we just stopped answering the question and we just started saying yes until they stopped asking that annoying question.
Well, but you can see why they do, because historically, independent contractors, agents haven't really, quote, qualified for much aid across the years. Nope. So I see where they're coming from. But, the time for questioning is running out because,
That's
these
right.
things are moving past you. And we just want you to all be able to say thank you to the past you for taking action, because really what this is a hedge against the uncertainty of the future. There is no, this is just like that time. That's not true. This is not like any time that any of us have experienced. And because of that, we're coaching all of you to put a backstop to that uncertainty of your future. Now, if you do some of these things and you don't need the money, you don't have to use the money, but it's there. When you have that 3 a.m. real estate night sweat because you wake up and, catch a headline that unemployment has just hit 30%, well, we want you to be able to go back to sleep and know you'll be okay.
Julie and I have been probably ahead of our skis for a while, predicting how bad the economy was going to get. We were just basing it on the number of unemployed, really. That's what we were focused on, because mentally, emotionally, it did not make sense. There wasn't going to be at least a recession because there's this many people that are losing their jobs. But now we're very comfortable in saying there's going to be a depression. And all that, I mean, Julie found a nice technical, well, it was a non-technical definition of it, because technically there is no technical definition of a depression. But what it means to you is that you have to have, as to Julie's point, urgency in applying for these programs, because who's to know what 6 months from now or 90 days from now the government will be focused on. And if you don't, like, for example, the PPP program, we are hearing from a lot of great sources that money is going to be gone this week. So if you haven't applied, you need to apply right away. And the other thing is apply to multiple lenders. So long story short, Julie, can you talk about that, how they can apply to multiple lenders?
Yeah. Well, so just to keep the program straight, the SBA Disaster Loan, you do that direct through the SBA website. But when we're talking about going to multiple lenders, what we're talking about specifically is the Payroll Protection Program, which is facilitated through normal banks and credit unions. So whoever you've got your checking and savings account with, you're going to start with them and find out whether they do SBA loans. Now, if they say no, that doesn't mean that you don't get the PPP. What it means is you have to find a lender locally who does SBA deals. Now, when you...
We have that list, right?
Right, we have that list. So when you text survival to 31996, we include a special lookup. So let's say that your bank says, nope, we're not doing that program, or your credit union. You just type in your state and it'll pop up which lenders are doing it. Now, let's say that lender is 50 miles away. You don't have to go in. You can, you just call them and you connect. But you do have to do it through an actual lender or credit union. So that's the difference with that. Now, here's the thing. You can apply, and you should apply with multiple lenders. Why? Right. Because a lot of them are swamped. Especially the bigger ones they've already reported that they're pretty much slammed. So what happens is you can do some multiple apps, and whoever adopts you and says, yes, we're going to approve it, we're going to handle your deal, they basically claim that, kind of like when you do an FHA loan and you have like an account or like a file number, they're yours. And then the other applications just don't get processed because it's been claimed essentially. Right. So you can do multiple apps, and we do recommend you do that because this money is not going to last forever. We think that it will be extended, but there's no guarantee. So cover your own cash flow.
That's pretty much it. I mean, so if you've not received, if you're not a member of that free coaching program, it does include a daily semi-private coaching call. So definitely text the word survival to 31996. You can activate your membership and become a member of the coaching call, or of the coaching program. So Julie and I are working on the third section, and we actually we walked 6 miles on what was Saturday?
And yesterday.
Sunday?
Pretty much almost every day.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're doing, stay in shape, since our gym's closed. But so we were having fun, kind of like speculating, dreaming a little bit, I suppose, about what the next 12 months will be like. And we came up with what we feel is a very, I think, defendable position of what's going to happen next in the overall economy. And what we're going to do, and this is the profit section, so the Ultimate Agent Survival Guide that we give you guys as part of that coaching program. Just text the word survival to 31996. It's broken into 3 parts. It goes personal, then it goes protect, then it goes profit. Sorry. So those 3 sections. So the profit section, I think, is going to be a lot. We're having a tremendous amount of fun because what we really think will happen is all of this money will essentially be spent in the economy, and you're going to see asset prices go just absolutely insane. But we don't think, and we're going to drill down on this more and give you guys reasons to, so we can essentially maybe use this information to formulate your own plan. But we don't think there's going to be any sort of meaningful return to people feeling comfortable spending money until there's a vaccine for the coronavirus. And here's the obvious reason why. It's because you guys are all, though you probably don't know it yet, a little shell-shocked and feeling a little PTSD from all of this, or you will notice the difference in how you feel going forward when you're able to not be quarantined all the time anymore. And so what you're going to discover is that you don't feel comfortable and confident probably spending money because you don't know if the coronavirus is going to come back. And they're all expecting, everywhere you turn and listen, they're all saying it's expected to come back in the fall. Well, if you've basically just licked your wounds from feeling under attack, under siege, quite literally, for the last 60 or 90 days, however long they keep us in quarantine, you're probably not going to feel that comfortable to go out and spend money when the quarantine is lifted or lifted partially in your community until the virus vaccine is actually, essentially being injected into people, right? And there's a new report coming out today that they don't think actually that the virus, that if you had it, they don't think the antibodies will prevent you from having it again. They're discovering that the antibodies sometimes prevent some people from not getting it again, but it's inconclusive. So really we're looking at 18 months, hopefully on the outside, 12 months optimistically until there's an actual solution to this problem. Until that happens, everyone's going to basically be in this getting ready to get started holding pattern as far as feeling overly optimistic. Now, the mistake that you're going to probably be tempted to make is just staying in your mental, emotional, and financial bomb shelter until the clouds clear. And that is a huge mistake because the greatest fortunes in history have always been made during the greatest times of change. So whether or not, like, for example, we could be in this holding pattern for another year where maybe there's little signs of life here and there, people are starting to come out, but when you go out, it's going to be bizarre. People are going to be wearing masks. There's going to be lines to get into stores. Is Costco still going to limit the number of people going in grocery stores? No, probably. Are restaurants ever going to basically, how many stores on your street front as you're driving down your main street, how many of those are even going to be in operation? How many of those are going to be closed, never to open again? You guys get my point? So the new normal is going to be definitely going to feel very abnormal. In that time, that's when you have to be drilling down and operating out of the sense that, out of maybe if it's even borrowed confidence, you can borrow it from us. Because in this intervening time, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 12 months, this is an opportunity for you to really get your act together. And this is the reason we wanted you guys to put your own mask on first, well, these, the Paycheck Protection Program and all the things we've been hammering at you guys constantly to do. So you have some financial staying power. Once you have financial staying power, then you have to move towards learning the things that are necessary for you to make it through. We are on these various events today, and everyone says they're convinced, but I don't believe it. Everyone says they're convinced that, the economy is what it is. But I'm still reading. I hear people talk about, there's going to be a V-shaped recovery, or there's going to be all these other, things that are going to happen that are going to miraculously cause the economy to go back. It just won't, guys. So what we're entering into is we're entering a new time in history. A new type of economy is going to emerge from this. It's not just going to be like flipping a light switch and all of a sudden everything's going to be new and we're all going to be running around on rocket scooters. It's not like that. That's not what I'm proposing. What I'm saying is the very nature of how people and businesses interact is going to forever change. If that doesn't seem obvious to you yet, give it a few months and you'll see how much things have changed, but also how many things are never going to change back. So accept the fact, and this is the emotional part. This is the thing that I fear for most of you guys, is that emotionally you're going to hope and pray that things are going to return to be like they were before because it was comfortable. You sort of had that type of world and existence worked out, and as long as you're trying to go back to a place where you feel like things are normal again based on the way they were just a month ago, which is crazy, then you're not going to do the things necessary to move forward, and then you're going to suffer needlessly 6 months or 12 months from now, and then all the other people that did take action on the things that we're going to start telling you guys about in the second section, which is called Protect, they're going to basically have seized the market, and you're going to be out of business. And that's unfortunately what's going to happen with virtually every business, not just with real estate agents. You thinking anything, Jules?
Yeah, I mean, people keep on trying to say, it was like post 9/11. It was like 2008, 2009. Maybe it's going to be like the Depression. I read one of the things that you sent me to read last night, that it will be probably a depression, but in a different way. It's not going to match anything that we've ever seen because it wasn't caused by anything that we've ever seen. So all that means at the end of the day is you have to be flexible. You have to be versatile. You have to take what the market is willing to give you, and you must protect yourself first so you have the freedom of your mindset to be able to reach out and help people who actually need your help. Tim, one of the things that I'm seeing from our endless supply of coaching calls and, of course, our premier coaching members is that the new transactions. So there's two things going on. One is you guys are, as Tim said, as you said earlier, you're working through those transactions that you put together 30, 60, 90 days ago. So we're getting those closings. There's been some hiccups there, but by and large, they are indeed closing. I heard a new one today from, of course, one of our California agents that was something in contract during the time they were pending. The whole Corona thing, got to be real. And the buyer, in spite of having all of their, all their contingencies removed, decided to ask the seller for a 10% discount, a Corona discount. Like, really? But guess what? Our coaching member, very smart, was able to keep it together, negotiated something, they got it to close. So we have that going on, getting through the previous deals. And then we have the new reality of what's being put together now. And what is it? Very pure motivation. We have people that are relocating, divorcing, that are, finishing their new builds.
You're meandering.
But stuff's happening.
Yeah, so. But that's the bottom line. So what Julie's expressing to you guys there are several thoughts, but the biggest one being that there's going to be clients out there that are going to require a specialized skill set, which frankly many of you have never been exposed to because you've been in real estate for only since the fluff years is what Julie and I call it, the past 10 years, where basically everything was just fluff. Everything was social networking and rah and walking on coals, just garbage. They had nothing to do with real skill set. Well, those days are over. And sorry. In addition to that, you're looking at essentially a sea change. And again, the skill set thing is the main thing. What do we mean by skill set?
Well, what we're talking about is versatility, the ability to do a multiple of types of transactions in a multiple situations without saying, no, that's out of my wheelhouse, or without saying, nope, we're not going to do it that way because we've always done it this way before. For you guys to look at things like probate, for example, you probably never had the thought that I should be working some probate transactions. Well, guess what? They're very motivated and have to sell for the most part. So again, you go to taking care of what the market is willing to give you. And you stay frosty on things like the fact that loans are actually getting harder to get in spite of lower interest rates. You stay up to speed on what the new credit requirements are. And instead of saying, oh, woe is me, I'm going to wait for that V-shaped recovery. If I just get it through the next 2 weeks of lockdown, everything's going to turn around. That's a good way to make yourself broke. And one of the reasons we're being so adamant about this personal first part of our plan here, which is taking care of yourselves financially, is because one thing that is similar, well, I hope that it doesn't end up being similar, is, in the 2008, 2009, some of you thought that short sales and REOs were not going to be in your market, and you didn't do anything to learn anything about it. And most of what you did was past client center of influence stuff. That was called luck. That was called recreational moving. And some of you waited too long. And we don't want to see that happen again. We don't want to see the market hand you your butt. Okay? I mean, I don't know how else I can say it.
Right. So starting tomorrow, I think we can officially, by the way, guys, that was a Diet Coke going down the wrong hole cough, not a coronavirus cough. So no worries.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Looking right at him, he's okay.
Well, ish.
Yes, ish. Considering what we do for a living.
So starting tomorrow,
Yes.
We are going to really, really get tight on the second part of our guide, which is, of course, the Protect Guide. So I want you guys to get ready to take great notes. So starting tomorrow, we're going to really drill down. We touched on it a little bit a couple weeks ago, but we're really going to focus in on what we know to be the top 10 things that you guys need to be doing now to make money. But I'm going to warn you, it's like everything else we've been unfortunately having to hammer you guys with for the past month. It's going to make a lot of you very uncomfortable because of the fact that it's going to be a skills-based approach to real estate. And it's going to be essentially doing the real thing, the real work of real estate, which a lot of you don't know you haven't been doing. I want you to think about what I just said. You don't know you haven't been doing it because other people have told you that social networking and dropping off pumpkin pies and all that stuff is real work. It's not. That's just been playful stuff. That's not the real work of real estate. You're going to have to learn how to have tough conversations with folks. You're going to have to learn how to actually have sales skills. You're going to have to learn how to answer questions. And frankly, the questions themselves are going to make you very nervous and maybe uncomfortable until you become comfortable because you have the skill set. All the things we're going to ask you to do, we know will work in this market. Again, going back to Julie's point, is that you have to realize that no matter what direction the market's going, no matter what interest rates are, no matter who the president is, no matter whatever is happening, okay, coronavirus or not coronavirus, there's always going to be sellers that have to sell. That's what we focus on in our coaching business. We do not talk about teams. We do not talk about branding. We do not talk about all this Mickey Mouse stuff that people are so fascinated with. We talk about the things that actually require real work, but also result in real revenue. That's what our coaching organization is based on, not based on all the fluffery that was, normalized over the last decade. So understand that there are always going to be sellers that have to sell. There are always going to be sellers that want to hire an agent and pay a really nice commission. There's always going to be situations where, the seller is going to need to liquidate the property. You just have to be skilled enough to have the right to earn that business. And if you're not, because essentially you're, a self-proclaimed Instagram star or whatever, if that's what you think is going to make it work for you in this new world, you're wrong. And also another warning to all of you, and I do mean this with absolute 100% certainty. Most of you have built your business predicated on the idea that centers of influence and past clients will get you into the end zone. That is true only in a seller's market, because in a seller's market, guys, the sellers themselves are not that selective in who they do business with, because after all, they know how to sell themselves in a seller's market. That is true. Okay. So if you're going to think that just focusing in on your sellers, your centers of influence and past clients are going to make it so that you have consistency of income, let alone a, frankly, very profitable business, you're wrong. Those centers of influence and past clients, unless they have to sell sellers, aren't going to sell in this market. And those of you who are focused on buyers, you guys are the ones I feel sorry for the most, because most of you have basically come up in this era of buying buyer leads, and you don't realize that buyers are the first ones to take themselves out of the market. Because at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a buyer that has to buy. They can always rent. They can always stay put. They don't have to buy. There's no such thing. Okay, but there are examples of a seller that has to sell. And that's what we want you to focus on, because at least for the next 12 to 18 months, and frankly for the rest of your real estate careers, once you have mastered the art of becoming the most powerful version of yourself as a listing agent, I promise you, you will not care about the economy. You will not care about interest rates. You will not care about any of the other things that causes so many other people to go have sleepless nights. You will know that you can survive regardless of what direction the market's going. As a matter of fact, you'll also know that the greatest fortunes of man or woman are always made during the greatest times of change, and that's what we're experiencing now. So don't be afraid of the change, guys. Embrace it, realizing that ultimately your highest and truest purpose on this planet is to be of service to others. And there's never been frankly, in our professional working careers or yours, there's never been a more important or a better opportunity for us to be of service to other people. Anything you'd like to say, dear?
Well, it makes me think that all of these things that are basically purifying their businesses, being really focused on motivated have to sell sellers, all of this will also serve you well, even in a hot seller's market, in any market. Tim, to your point, it gives them wings. It gives them confidence that, I don't really even have to pay attention to which kind of market it is, because I know what to do regardless. And, you were talking about even in times of crisis or things that are going on, there's always motivated people. Whenever you say that, I always remember the fact that both your parents and my parents bought their houses in the late 70s, mid to late 70s. When interest rates were insane, right? They were like 17, 18%. You say that to like a millennial that's been selling real estate for 10 years where interest rates have never been, above 5 or so, tops. It's like they can't even imagine why anybody would buy a house then. And yet, that happened.
I don't know if you realize the interest that you brought up that point. Mm-hmm. So going back to the late 70s, guys, that's essentially what we're predicting we're going to experience after there's a huge boom. I don't want to, go too far forward here, but the reality of it is all the stimulus money is going to find a home to roost, and it's going to find it in asset prices, including real estate. So what you guys are going to see is when this coronavirus is finally in the rear view and people are feeling confident again, you're going to see a absolutely insane market for anything that's a store of wealth. Real estate, art, collector cars, gold and silver, anything that people perceive will be a good long-term storage of wealth other than cash. And that's what's absolutely going to happen. So you're going to see massive increase in cost of things, which is also known as inflation. And unfortunately, what's going to happen on the other side of that is probably hyperinflation. We're going to be talking a little bit about that on a future podcast. But here's what's important, and please remember we said this. We are working towards what's going to feel like an absolutely insane orgy of money spending, but that's not going to happen until after the coronavirus, basically comes and goes. The vaccine comes and goes. And that's only if unemployment starts to drop in those months. We might be wrong, because after the coronavirus vaccine is created and people are starting to take it, if they still don't have jobs, they're not going to spend money. But if employment does start to come back in the 6 to 12 months that precedes that, essentially the coronavirus, and that becomes the story, the booming U.S. economy, employers adding payroll, and people start to feel confident again, then you're going to see a crazy market for just about everything that people will hope that will be a good storage of wealth. But then it's going to be followed by a really nasty bout of inflation, and then some questioning about whether or not, what's going to happen to the U.S. currency and like that. But here's what we're going to do on an upcoming podcast. We're going to go as far as maybe 18 months out. We're going to tell you what we think will happen and the reasons we think it'll happen. But it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to take our advice, create your own. But what we're always going to hedge on, if you want to know where Julie and I's heart and soul is when it comes to talking with you guys, it's always on over-preparing you. So we're definitely optimists. We definitely want to hope for the best, but we definitely want to prepare you guys for the worst. What we see everybody doing, and this is the critical mistake, is they're just hoping for the best. They're not preparing for the worst. We are going to do everything in our power to let you guys know that it is your moral obligation to apply for all those government programs. It's your moral obligation to get as much of that money as you can, so you can take care of yourself, so you can make it through this essentially economic firestorm or economic ice age, whatever you want to call it, that's coming our way, so then you can benefit from the profit phase.
Well, so if that doesn't motivate you, imagine you 6 months from now, maybe even only 90 days from now, and you missed out on this, and future you looks back at current you and says, you knew about this stuff and you didn't do anything about it, and now you're standing in line at Costco for 3 hours to get in to hopefully feed your family. I don't know. I don't want that situation for any of you. I want you to go, thank you, past me, for having that together. That's pretty awesome. So it's your choice to make, and the actions that we're asking you to do on these special programs don't even take that long. So make sure you're saying thank you, past self, instead of what in the world were you thinking, not taking action.
Don't emotionally argue with this, what we're saying, worrying about there's any moral issues with taking the money, okay? Let's not even waste time with that. Some of you have that issue. I sort of did, to be honest with you, a month ago, because it's just weird telling people to, take all the handouts.
And we did a ton of research. Every night we still are doing tons and tons of research. We are just not just like throwing this out there because it sounds cool. It's because we believe in what's probably happening.
Yep.
And because of the issue of, nobody really being able to predict. Somebody said that the lockdowns were like, if you had a prison sentence where you could get out tomorrow or possibly not for a really long time, and you had the uncertainty. You could be told tomorrow, hey, there's a vaccine, it's awesome, or you're going to be in lockdown for 6 more months. And the stress of that wears on you. You've got to do something about things you can control, which are things like the disaster loan, the PPP.
You're saying people are they're underestimating the psychological stress. Yeah.
Yes, and because we've grown used to it over 30 days.
Sort of. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some PTSD.
Yeah, there's been a lot of psychological stuff I've read about that, and anticipatory grief because you don't really know how it's going to go.
Yep.
And not to mention that it is pretty funny watching all the homeschool stuff that, what did I tell you yesterday? I read that 20 years from now, the world will be run by people that were homeschooled by day drinkers, like wearing your day jammies. What's the long-term ramifications of that? But, you have to keep it pretty lighthearted. My point is that you've got to control what you can control.
Yesterday was Easter, and Julie and I went on our 6-mile sojourn around this neighborhood that we live in. And we noticed that people, and we were leaving, I don't know, was it around 1 p.m. or something?
Yeah.
And we were walking around, and people were rolling past us in golf carts drinking. And we thought, well, that didn't take long. A month, and basically happy hour now is about 11 a.m., but
funny.
Julie's joke about the effect of all these day drinkers having on all these kids who are supposed to be homeschooling, that's kind of funny.
Just the haircuts alone are going to be entertaining when we all get back in the wild. And the other thing I've noticed, since our neighborhood has lots of golf cart action, is these I I have to say, lots of men looking like they've been hit by a stun gun with like their 2-year-old in their lap. And you just know they were thrown out of the house and said, just go drive around for a while. They just, I think we all are dealing with some shifts in our schedules, for lack of a better term.
Yep, that's
so
right.
It's all right.
Shifts in our expectations, too. So listen, guys, stay connected to us. Thank us for this podcast. The emails and the texts and the praise is really welcome. We really love it. But the way you guys can help us is by helping us stay true to our mission, which is being of service to other people. So please, guys, share this podcast with other people. If you're on iTunes or Stitcher listening to us, please give us a 5-star review. Whatever you can to help us, guys, get the word out. If you're listening to one of our podcast videos on YouTube, obviously subscribe. Anything you can help us to reinforce the message that we're delivering. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to do it even though we're definitely getting criticism for telling agents to do these things. A lot of people like to get on their high horses, and it's like, shut up. I don't even want to.
Right?
Honestly, I'm not even going to engage with those people anymore. They're trying to basically virtue signal that they're somehow morally superior to people that take advantage of government programs, and I just don't agree. That doesn't even remotely make sense. So all that, support us, guys. Help us get the word out. If you're looking for a great book to read, you can get our book. I was going to say Barnes & Noble, but you can't go there. So you can get our book at
Amazon.
It's called Harris Rules. And remember, while you still can take advantage of these programs, text the word survival to 31996. You guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you on the show anytime. And remember, our podcast and replays are available, and there's hundreds of past podcasts you can go and listen to now if you're sick of watching Netflix. Have a great day.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.